Hello, I'm George Saylor of the LD Fargo Public Library in beautiful downtown Lake Mills, Wisconsin. And for this November, I've booked several author events each Saturday in November. The first one coming up is going to be a crime novel writing workshop by famed novelist Anthony Neal Smith. That's going to be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., $25 a person, includes lunch from Waterhouse Foods, which is across the park from us. We had a writer's workshop last fall with J.A. Conrath and Ann Voss Peterson. That was very well attended and even generated a local reading group, which has been meeting regularly ever since then. So I decided to have another one and bring in a different teacher. I'll do the same thing next year. Smith is, like I said, a crime novelist, but he's also the director of creative writing at Southwestern Minnesota State University out of the prairie there. So he does this for a living. He teaches people how to improve their writing, all sorts of aspects about it. And some of the topics he's going to cover specifically are getting started on a novel, researching, outlining, plotting, and revisions, the very important part of rewriting. And Mr. Smith, Dr. Smith, Professor Smith has also agreed to look at samples of your writing. Doesn't need 500 pages to look at. The weekend after that, November 12th, from 1 to 3 p.m., is novelist Larry Watson. Watson is very well known. He teaches over at Marquette University, lives in Milwaukee. And several of his books have been chosen for the big read type of programs where everybody in a city or everybody in a county aims to read the same book, or everybody in the same state, I guess. Here in Jefferson County, a few years ago, for our big read project, we did Montana 1948 by Watson. And his other novels include Sundown, Yellow Moon, White Crosses, Laura, Orchard, and his most recent novel, American Boy, is coming out this October, either September or October. But Watson usually has his stories set in rural areas of Montana and Wyoming. There's always an important family element and family dynamics. One member wants to do this, the other member wants to do that, and the conflict is oftentimes within the family and also with outside the family. November 19th, author Susanna Daniel. She'll be here from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And she is a native of Miami. She grew up down there, went to the University of Iowa to attend the writer's workshop there. And then she came up to Madison, and she's been there for several years. And her recent novel is called STILTSVILLE, about a lady who in the late 60s goes down to a wedding in Miami, just falls in love with the place, makes good friends, meets her husband, and ends up moving down there. And about her romance with her husband and her family and her interaction with her different in-laws, and also about her love of Stiltsville itself, which is the stilt houses on Biscayne Bay in Florida. Her husband and his family own one of those places, and they often spend the weekends there. But it's an interesting story. I think you'd like it. And we're having that in the evening because that same evening is the Hunters Widows event here downtown and all the local businesses, because that's the first. It's the opening gun weekend of deer hunting season. And November 26th from 1 to 3 p.m., I don't have a poster yet, is going to be Margot Peters, famed biographer. That's not her. That's actually one of the subjects she wrote about, May Sarton, who was a poet and a novelist. Peters is from here in Lake Mills. She used to teach at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater for several years. And she's written a lot of biographies. That one on Sarton, this one called Bernard Shaw and the Actresses, about George Bernard Shaw and some of the relationships that he had with famed actresses of his age. Unquiet Soul, a biography of Charlotte Bronte. And another one here is The House of Barrymore by the Barrymore acting family. And she has a couple others that I didn't find on the shelf right now. But she has another one, a new one, coming out this October or September, again, I can't remember which, about the poet Lorraine Nidecker out of Fort Atkinson. Nidecker grew up and lived and died in Fort Atkinson. And, right off with poetry, not a lot of people read poetry anymore, so recent poets aren't as well known, but Nidecker apparently is very well known among poetry people for the work that she's done. So, those are several things you might want to look into reading before you come to the event. Please do come to the event. Crime Novel Writing Workshop, November 5th, with Professor Dr. Anthony Neal Smith, $25 a head. He'll read your sample work if you get to him ahead of time. Just do that through me. Author Larry Watson, November 12th from 1 to 3. I think he's going to be a very good speaker. And Susanna Daniel, November 19th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Maybe you can convince her to go out for some, I don't know, wine or something, because the new winery just opened across the street. It's a nice place. And then Margot Peters on November 26th from 1 to 3. Again, that's not Margot Peters, that's the Barrymore family, and they're all dead. At least these 3 people are dead. I'm Gerard Saylor of the O.D. Fargo Public Library in beautiful downtown Lake Mills, Wisconsin, and that's stuff to read and to do.